For this week's tip of the week, we are going to show something a little technical. I'd say it's easy to intermediate level, but we're going to show you exactly and explain to you the benefits of how to send SMS text notifications to your members using the member chat messages. So David, if it's all right with you, I can pass it on over.
Absolutely, thank you. We hear a lot from you guys that you want to be able to send text message notifications to your members, when something needs to be brought to their attention. We've covered a couple things in the past, but for this one, we thought it would be really beneficial to be able to send text message notifications to your members when they do receive brand new direct message or private member chat from another member on your website. So if we dive right on in, let's first cover kind of what happens by default now, and then what'll happen once we set up this integration. So for now, members can message each other. That does require the private member chat add-on. It basically just adds a DMing or a direct message feature so that individual members can message each other back and forth all on your website. And when that happens, your members will receive email notifications every time they receive a new message. So that does let them know that they got a new message and they need to log into their account to reply to it. That just comes to them as a normal email. So with this, when we send out an SMS text message to the members, it'll automatically get delivered to them as soon as they receive a new private message from another member. And we'll show within that text message, there'll be a link that they could just click on. It'll automatically log them in, and they'll be able to immediately reply to that message. So this is really convenient, obviously, for the members. Everybody pretty much, for the most part, has their phones either on them or nearby most of the time. So this should be able to alert your members a little bit quicker when they do receive new chat messages on your website and allow them to reply faster as well. So with that, going into the benefits of sending these SMS notifications to members when they do receive new messages on your website. Obviously, it'll get sent to them in real time, almost immediately as soon as they receive a new message from another member on your site. That'll help build stronger relationships, not only between your members, if they're able to have that conversation a little bit quicker and not always have to either be looking in their inbox or looking to see if they got a new email notification on their phone or something like that. It'll also help to boost traffic engagement and possibly even conversions if we're notifying members sooner that they've received brand new messages in their account on your site. They'll be able, like I said, to immediately click a link, log right in, and start carrying on that conversation. A couple quick stats that we found. The first one here, you will certainly be able to reach more members by sending a notification via text message rather than email. Email is still great, but 98% of users, huge number, actually do open and take a look at the text messages that they receive. Whereas, with a normal email, it's not uncommon for people to just quickly delete an email if they think it's not necessary, or maybe sometimes it might land in their spam folder and they might not see it that way. SMS messages, text messages, they also have 209% higher response rate than email. Again, just people always kind of having their phones nearby and always seeing the messages, rather than with an email, they might just take a look at the subject line and delete it without actually opening it, which is unfortunate if it does happen to be something that might be important. And then also with text messages, recipients typically do view and either reply or open those text messages within about a minute and a half of receiving them. Again, whereas with email, it depends if, some people might not have notifications turned on their phone for when they receive new emails. Some people might only be checking their inbox if they're on the computer or something like that. So being able to send these notifications over text message to the members will certainly help to notify them a little bit better and help them keep those conversations on your website going.
And I think one other benefit is it just makes your company look cool, and a lot bigger than it probably is. It seems that setting up something like this would require a lot of technical know-how, but actually in with this, what you can do with BD and the tools that we're going to show you, you can really set this up in about 10 or 15 minutes. And it's just going to help your brand appear to be a lot bigger. And that helps with credibility, trustworthiness, and all those other cool things that you're looking to establish with your members and followers.
Absolutely. So before we dive into the step-by-step kind of showing how to set it up, first, quickly going over what you'll actually need to get this going. Obviously, you'll need a Brilliant Directories website. You'll need that private member chat add-on because that's what allows the members to have those live chat messages with one another directly on our site. We're also going to be using an integration tool. In this case, we're going to use Zapier. We've showcased Zapier a lot in previous videos as well as webinars, but you could also use something like Pabbly Connect or Integrately. There's quite a few of these webhook type automation platforms that you could use, but we'll be showing Zapier here. And also for the text message platform, we'll be showing Twilio. We've shown Twilio in, I believe, one other tip of the week previously, but there's a bunch of other text message platforms that you could use. TextMagic is one of the other most popular ones. And a few quick final things to note before we show how to set this up. So on your Brilliant Directories website, your members, they will need to enter their phone number. That phone number field, it's already a default field in the contact details form that they fill out. So as long as they put their phone number in there, we'll have their phone number that we can send text messages to. And then there's also an advanced setting in the admin area that you're going to want to enable. That advanced setting is enable login token link. That will allow us to send a login link to the member in the text message that they could just quickly tap on, and it'll immediately log them in to their account on our website. And then on Twilio, we will need a Twilio account with a balance of at least $20. With Twilio, each text message that we send costs about 0.008 cents. US cents. So for that $20 balance, that allows us to send about 2,500 text messages. And if any of our members decide, I'm just getting too many of these notifications, or I'm fine just getting the email notifications, if they don't want to receive those text messages anymore, they can just reply stop to any of those texts, and that will automatically opt them out of receiving future ones. And like we mentioned, you don't have to use Twilio. We've used it in the past. It's pretty straightforward, but there's a bunch of other platforms you could use like TextMagic, Simple Texting, Click Send, and there's many others as well. And so Jason, if it's all right with you, I guess we'll go right on in and show the step-by-step kind of how to set this all up.
Yeah, let's do it. Again, guys, this is easy to intermediate. For those of you who may or may not be familiar with webhooks and Zapier and all that stuff. So we'll try to go step by step. We'll try to go not too slow, but if we skip over something, you can always watch the replay. And of course, you can ask questions in the Facebook group or to the BD support team as well. So before we get fully started with everything, I just wanted to quickly show you what the end result is that we can expect. So give me just a moment here to get my bearings. And let me show you what can happen here. I think, let me log in here. In the previous webinar, we showed you guys how to rig up your private chat as like a website support module here. Let's see here, support tickets. Yeah, we were doing some tests with the sample member, Edward Smith. We're the website support. Let's respond back to Edward Smith, who is a member on the site. And this is a webinar message. Check it out. So we're sending Edward a message. He's a regular member on the site. And what we have here is we've actually, for Edward, since we can't show a smartphone, we've actually connected this to just a Google Voice number here. And we just received a text message here. And it says right down here, we're doing some text, a website name, new message. This is a webinar message. Check it out. So this would come to Edward's smartphone here. And we have a reply here link. If we click this, this will actually log us into Edward's account. So he would be logged in on his smartphone and he can reply back to the support team and then continue the conversation. So this is really a good tool to keep your members chatting with each other on the go. And The reason I said this was so cool is because it really makes your site look like a more expensive website, like an Angie's List, a Thumbtack, or any one of those solutions where members can chat back and forth to each other and they get pinged on their phones on the go. I know I use those also with TaskRabbit and things like that. So just sort of adds another level of development status to your site having this. So let's see how we rig this up. And we'll go step by step. The first thing is we did create a Zap. So if you're not familiar with Zapier, we've covered it in previous webinars, but let's quickly look at the Zap and then I'll recreate the Zap from scratch. So created a Zap, Twilio SMS messages for chat messages. And the first thing we did was we caught the webhook from the chat, and then we said only continue if the recipient, the person receiving the message, has a phone number, and we'll show you that in a second. And then we kind of cleaned the message. Some of the messages had like HTML in them and things like that. So we kind of sanitized the message a few times. We'll get into that. We also made sure the phone number was in a format that our text message provider, Twilio, could use to send the text message. And then the BD login token URL is really long. So Zapier has a shortened URL, a shortener tool. So we shorten the URL. And then at the end, we send all of that magically using Twilio in a text message. I'll just open this one quickly. I'll just click edit and then we'll recreate this from scratch. So the action here, the from number is the phone number Twilio gives you, and then we can see the message here. You could put your website name, new message, and then it uses the variables, the URL, the output, and things like that. So now that we kind of have like a 360 overlook of how this works, let's set this up from scratch on our BD site. Let me get out of here. And we're going to start, and again, I'll try to do this relatively quickly so we can get to some questions at the end, but we're going to create a new Zap, and let's give it a nickname. We'll call this webinar SMS chats. So the first thing we want to do is set up a trigger, and we're going to start with a webhook. Webhooks by Zapier. And the event always, if you're doing this with your BD site, is the last option here, catch hook. And we're going to continue. This step we can skip, pick off a child key. We don't need to do that. And it's going to give us a URL, and we're going to copy this. Click the copy button. We're going to come to our BD site, and we're going to go to our developer hub. And that URL that we just copied, we're going to go to webhooks. And there's a quick filter here. You can search for chat. We already have in one from our previous test. I'll go ahead and delete that and paste the new one. And just make sure enable webhook is on. What this basically does is anytime there's a new chat message now, it's going to send that chat message data into Zapier. So Zapier is collecting all that chat data, and then we're able to do something with it. So I'll go ahead and save these changes. Now that we've done that, let's actually send a test ticket here. This is a test chat message, we'll call it, and we'll send it. Great, so we sent a test message. Let's come back to Zapier and we'll test the trigger to make sure the connection is capturing new messages here. And it has captured it from Edward Smith. Here it is. This is a test chat message, and we can see some HTML tags here. That was what I was talking about, sanitizing the text a little bit, so none of that shows in the final text message. So we'll go ahead and continue. Perfect. And actually, let's respond back to him. Let's respond back to Edward as the support, and I'll show you why. I want to make sure we have the recipient's phone number there. So I'm going to log in as website support. I'm just going to do another test. I want to make sure it's capturing it. So now we're logged in as website support. I want to make sure they got Edward's message. This is a test chat message, and I'm just going to reply back, awesome. Okay, great. I'm going to do another test with this. You can do if you're not seeing data that you're trying to see here, you can just keep doing multiple tests. We should receive request B now. Perfect, and here is awesome coming back. So we know that this is working really well and there's a strong connection. So the next thing we want to do is actually the Zapier built-in tools. We're going to do a filter. We don't want to do anything unless the person who's receiving a message, being sent a message, has a phone number. So we're going to hit the filter button and only continue this Zap if the field, let's search for phone, the receiver's phone number, the recipient has a phone number. So the chat message receiver, and we're just going to say that a value exists for that. So basically, only if the person has a phone number, and it has found a phone number. So your Zap would have continued, will continue. Now, if Edward didn't have a phone number with his BD profile, then it wouldn't continue the Zap. It's not going to waste a text message attempt and so on. And maybe you can create an if-then branch. So if there is no phone number, maybe you want to send an email to the member like, hey, why don't you add a phone number on your account so you can receive text messages from our site? So turn it into a positive, bring the person back to the site. So now we have an if statement. Only if the recipient has a phone number do we want to continue. And now what we can do is we can start what David and I were having fun with before the webinar is actually cleaning up the message that came in, sanitizing it. So let's use the formatter. And what we're going to do, I'll just do this quickly. We're going to format some text and we're going to continue. And what do we want to do? The first thing we want to do, and search for HTML here, and you want to remove HTML tags. And from which value? Well, we want to remove it from the chat message. You see these P tags, those are paragraph tags. We want to remove that. And we'll go ahead and continue. Now let's test the action. So this is the output. It looks like it didn't strip out the last part here. So if you see this stuff and it's not like perfect, just plain text, which happens sometimes, we're going to share this with the BD team. But if it does happen in anything that you're doing in Zapier or Pabbly, what you could do is just create another text format rule. Let's scroll down here. So we're going to format and we're going to do text. And what we want to do in this case is replace text. And from which field? Now, you don't want to go back to the original field. You want to do it from this step 3 field. So you want to replace from text that's already been formatted. And here it is, we want to format this text from step 3. And we're going to find this and replace it with nothing. Let's continue and test the action. Great. Now we just have a message that says awesome. So that part's done. This is sometimes necessary when you're using these tools. And the next thing we're actually going to do is format the phone number, right, David? And then the URL shortener, I think.
Correct.
Okay, great. So we're going to continue back down here. We're going to click once again on formatter. And if the phone number is coming perfectly from your BD site, and we do have like a phone number field that allows for the country code with the plus sign and everything, that's what these SMS text tools usually need, is like a +1 for the United States, +44 for the UK, etc. In this case, we just want to make sure that to format numbers that our members may have entered. So we'll hit the numbers option here and we'll continue. And what we want to transform is the phone number. We want to format phone numbers. And the input is going to be from the original webhook data. And we see, scroll down, there was a phone number here. This is our member Edward's phone number, but that's the field. And then it asks us what format do we want to use. So the international format seems to work fine. And if you choose the international format, you can choose the default country. Another note, this probably will work best if your website serves a specific country and is not necessarily international. It can get a little hairy with these solutions if it's trying to send text messages to different country codes and things like that. What we did see is this works fine with US, Mexico, UK, Canada, and other countries like that, but just check the solution like TextMagic and Twilio and see what countries they support, or you'll be able to find another texting solution that does support sending text to your country code. And let's just continue here. So time format international, that's going to add a +1 to it, and it's going to use United States if it doesn't exist. So let's test the action. Okay, great. It transformed our phone number and it's added a +1 and put it in a clean format so that Twilio will be able to successfully deliver the text message to the recipient. Okay, and then the last formatter thing we want to do, and open this up and search for URL shortener by Zapier. That's what we want to search for the action. And now it's going to ask us what the event is shorten URL. And then which field do we want to shorten the URL of? And we want to shorten the recipient's login token link. So chat message receiver link. That is the one. That's the person. This is going to be the receiver's login link, the recipient's login link. So we're going to do that, and we can see it's a very long URL. And let's see what that shortens to. Let's continue and test action, this long URL here. And it's shortened it down to just what this. So it's created a nice little, so that we know that it's going to get delivered in the text message, because text messages can only support a certain amount of text. So we've done a little bit of formatting here for the phone number, the message, we've removed the HTML tags, and we've also shortened the URL. Yeah.
I think it's important real quick just to reinforce when shortening the URL to select that receiver's link and not the sender, because then you're going to have people logging into the wrong account.
Yes, this is all for the receiver, the recipient that we're sending a text message to. The person who sent the message already knows they sent a message. They're not waiting for a reply back. They're already in the chat. So this is all for the receiver and recipient who is receiving a new message ping. So good notice there, good point there. And that's going to come into play in the last step here is we're going to choose what tool we want to use to send the SMS text message. In this case, we're going to use Twilio. So under actions, we're going to search for let me just do this first. If you search for SMS, there are a ton of SMS tools: Burst SMS, Sakari, TextMagic, ClickSend. SMS by Zapier will send you a text message, not third parties, but these other ones will. And if we also search for text, we see simple texting. So I think you should be able to find one that suits your website and business's needs. In our case, Twilio works just fine. So there are steps to connect a Twilio account. If it's not connected, you can just follow those steps. It asks you to connect your API key and something called an SDID. They provide you very simple instructions, and then your Twilio account is hooked up to the Zap. In this case, what we want to do is send a message, send an SMS, excuse me, and we'll continue. And the from number is your Twilio number that they give you. I'm sure TextMagic and all the other texting solutions have to give you an origin phone number that you own. So in this case, this is our sample number from Twilio. Alphanumeric sender ID, actually we don't know what that is, and we didn't need to use that in this case. The to number is going to be the phone number that we formatted. So if we scroll down here, we don't want to get the phone number from the catch hook. We want to get it from the number that's been formatted here, step 5 here. And we can see the output is that +1 with that country code there, which Twilio requires. And then for the message, the fun part. So you could put really whatever you want in this message. Probably short and concise would be best. You may want to mention your website name since it's coming from a phone number that the recipient may not be familiar with. So we can do, dog trainers, USA, whatever it might be, and then just say new message, colon, and we'll go to the next line, and we want to insert, oh, there was one formatter we forgot, David. Let's add it in actually. So there was one more thing. In the event that somebody is sending somebody a long message, we can actually truncate or shorten the message so that their phone doesn't get blown up with 8 paragraphs of text. So actually, what we wanted to do is we removed the HTML from the message and any foreign, we did the replace as well. What we want to do is add one more formatter here, and that's to truncate or shorten the message that we just sanitized, that we just removed the HTML from. So let's go to formatter, and event is text, and it's called truncate, and you'll see what this does. It's really cool. And then which value do we want to truncate? We want to truncate step 4 above the awesome. Now, awesome itself is a short message, but again, it could be 8 paragraphs long what someone is sending. So max length, we did some tests, 40 is fine. You could probably go a little bit more, but we'll just do 40. And then if it's longer, you can choose to add an ellipses after it. Whoops. So you can choose true here, and it'll just put a ... And let's continue, and let's do a test. So this is obviously a short message, it just says awesome. So in this case, there's no ellipses, it just says awesome. But again, if it was 9 paragraphs long, it would just show 40 characters and then ... which is good for a text message. So let's hit continue here. All right, and everything else is the same. Let's get back to our send SMS message. Right. So we are under actions. So we did the from number, it's our Twilio phone number. Now the to number is that sanitized phone number that adds the +1, and here's the message. So Dog Trainers USA, new message. And what we want is to insert the data from our last text formatter, the one that we just truncated, the awesome. This is the one that does the ... And then lastly, the cool part, we can say reply here and input the shortened URL right there. Let's see if that gets added. Let's add this in right there. Perfect. So that is what the text message will look like. We can even do, let's do new message from, and we'll put chat so they know they're in a chat. Perfect. And don't know what a media URL is, and we're not sending large messages, so we'll just continue. That's basically all we need to do. And we can do a test to test the action. Okay, it says it was sent from Twilio about 2 seconds ago. If we come back to our inbox here, we can see new message from Dog Trainer. I should remove the colon there. From Dog Trainers USA chat, awesome. And if I click this, Edward will be prompted to log into his account. So that's really cool. And that's basically the whole setup, David. Anything, you just publish the Zap and you're good to go.
Yeah, that would be it. What you could also add into the message at the very end, you could add in reply stop to opt out if you just want to remind members that they could always opt out if they don't want to keep receiving these. And then your Twilio account, you would stop sending unnecessary text messages since they do cost 0.008 cents each.
Right. So you could do like reply stop to opt out messaging of text messages. Right, you can add this there, right? And it would do that. And different texting solutions like TextMagic, they might have a different command to stop the text messages. Let's continue here. Let's do another test. All right, and let's go back here. Here it says new message from Dog Trainers USA chat. Awesome. Respond here. You can even put the person's name who sent it because it is technically included in the data. So like new message from David Rockland, it's because the recipient's name is part of the data. That's probably even better. And then we see the reply stop to opt out from text messages. So super cool there. If you have the private member chat add-on, definitely recommend this. And whenever a recipient gets a new message, they're going to get pinged on their phone. And of course, they're going to come back to your site, increases traffic, makes you look more professional, and tons more benefits.